Hey everybody, Corey from AquariumCoop.com. Today, I want to explain old tank syndrome to you. It's been done to death in articles and it's been covered in forums and stuff like that, but in video, I feel like not so much. So, we're going to explain it with M&Ms because I like to eat M&Ms, and right here, I have a 20-gallon aquarium, can't you tell? It's got 20 blue M&Ms in it. That makes it a 20-gallon aquarium. And so let's explain how old tank syndrome happens. You've got a tank, you got some fish in there, they're doing good, they're swimming around, everything's great, don't really have any algae, things are good, and you're just going through your life, and yeah, you feed. So you know, these brown M&Ms here are going to represent nitrates, the end product of you feeding your fish. So you feed them and they're doing things, and you know, you feed a few more times, and then water level gets low. Maybe you only top it off. Maybe you only, just top it off. You know, it's New Year's or it's Christmas, and people are coming over, make it look good. So you're just topping off, and when you top off, you bring in extra things like calcium and whatever's in your tap water. What's this orange one? We don't even know. It's in there, and you're feeding some more, and you're feeding some more, and maybe you have a red one in there. What's that? Could be phosphate, just something in excess. You just keep feeding and feeding and feeding, and eventually you have all of these M&Ms in there that are mixed in with your nice, clean blue M&Ms, right? It used to look so nice and clean, and now it still looks clean, but here's where old tank syndrome sets in. By having all of this nitrates in there, and you have calcium, and you have other things that have built up over time, all the fish that live in there are used to it because slowly but surely you were feeding and just adding, and they adapted over a long period of time. Then, it's your birthday and you go, ooh, yeah, I got a gift certificate to my local pet store. I'm going to go there and I'm going to buy some fish. So you go there, you buy fish, you add them to your aquarium. The next day they're dead. And you don't get it. All the other fish are doing great, but these ones didn't do well at all. You go, I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have added new fish. My local fish store, yep, they're just not good quality. So you go to a different pet store and you buy fish from them. And you put them into the tank and they die pretty much overnight or in the next couple of days or get sick right away too. So now you know something might be up. You're researching online, you're looking into it. I don't get it. I've had all these fish for 2 years. They've been doing really well. I don't quite get it. Well, you've probably got old tank syndrome going on, and that just means you have a buildup of a lot of nutrients, and your pH is probably falling down because we're only topping off. A lot of times pH will start to fall. Every time you're making brown M&Ms, basically making nitrates, you're using up ions, and it makes the water go a little bit acidic every time. So if you think of it like a yard, and you have a dog, and you feed your dog every day, and it goes to the bathroom outside every day. Eventually, there's a lot of landmines out there to be dodging. Kind of same thing goes on in your aquarium. Now, the other way you can get into this situation is if you're not changing water enough. So let's say you don't have quite as much excess in here yet, and you're a good aquarist, and we're changing water all the time. And so you've got this going on in there. You're not so bad. And you go, okay, yeah, it's Sunday. I'm going to change 10% of my water. What does that mean? That means 2, because we have a 20-gallon tank, 2 of the blue ones come out, and maybe a brown one comes out, right? So all those come out of your water, and then you go, oh yeah, water change done. We put back in, and it's diluted it a little bit. Yep. And then we go out through our next week, but the problem is we might feed 2 brown ones and bring in an orange one that week. Sunday comes again, we change 2 blue ones and 1 brown one, and you're building up. You see how we're going to keep building up? We put 2 blue ones back in. Next week we get 2 browns, and this time it's a red. And so it's building up over long periods of time. Over the course of 2 years, you might have a ton of stuff in there, even though you're changing water every single week. And I find that's what really gets the really dedicated hobbyists, is they've never missed a water change, and yet stuff is still building up. And that's because we don't have very good methods as aquarists to measure what's going into a tank. We measure the results. And so as long as we do our water changes, we get into this lull that it's running really well. It's kind of like if we change our oil every 3,000 miles on our car, we're shocked when the transmission breaks or the engine has a problem, even though changing the oil has very little effect on that because we think we're doing our maintenance. And that's the same thing here, is we're doing our maintenance, but we're not really testing the overall system. Most people don't even own a hardness test kit because it doesn't come with the master API test kit. So they don't even know they're building up in orange M&Ms. And then a phosphate test kit, if you don't have a ton of algae in there, you're probably not testing for it, so you don't know that red M&Ms are building up. And so you can get into this situation where fish are dying, you don't know why, and that's old tank syndrome. So how do we fix old tank syndrome? The easiest way is just to up the water changes. So figure out if you're falling behind, and if you're doing 10% every week, maybe you're better off doing 30% every other week. Because what happens is when you take out 2 blue ones and then 2 blue ones come back in, next week you take out 2 blue ones, but one of the blue ones might be the same as it was the week before. Or if you change 30%, you're taking out 6, and then 2 weeks go by, and when you change again, you might only take out one of those blue ones from the previous week. So doing it every week in small doses, or even a few times a week in small doses, has very little impact. I'm a big fan of either A, automating your water changes, which most people can't. That's what I do. Or B, I like to do 30 to 40% once a month, kind of bigger water changes, and I'll adjust as necessary. Either A, I'll reduce the amount of fish I keep, or B, I might change the quality of food. If I was feeding a dry, maybe I go to a frozen. Or C, maybe I'll increase up to about 50%. I don't really like doing more than about 50% of a water change at any one time, especially if you have a lot of aquariums. You can run out of hot water and those types of things, and it's a more stable environment, in my opinion, when we keep it to 50% or less. And about 1/3 of an aquarium, you just look at it and kind of go, yeah, I'm going to take out about 1/3. And with that, typically once a month I'm servicing the filtration, whatever kind of filtration you're going with, and maybe I'm doing a gravel vac as well. But yeah, old tank syndrome, nothing to be scared about, but it does sneak up on us. Even the people that have been around hobby for 20 years, maybe you had that fish been living just fine, you want to add a new flare, it's not working. Now you know, solve it by just changing more water, make more blue M&Ms. Who doesn't like that?